then voices his concerns, admitting he does not like the newcomers. The commander asks for his reason. Tyrion explains that Dorian looked paralyzed with fear, while Rayon seemed far too relaxed, like he was here for fun. He suspects there'll be more trouble than help, and points out that Rayon even has a flower bracelet on, making it tough to see him as a warrior. He suggests it might not be too late to send them packing. Myland replies that looks can be deceiving, and reminds Tyrion that both have completed Ziggart's notoriously tough training. He says it's better to observe their behavior before making any decisions. Charles agrees. Milan then wonders why he was asked to send reports on the two every 2 weeks. Charles asks if this was in Rimmer's letter, but Milan explains the request came directly from Ziggart's Lord's Manor. Charles realizes this means the Northern Conqueror himself made the request. The commander confirms he was instructed to report in detail on everything the two of them do, something that has never happened before. Lord Glenn finds himself puzzled by the Conqueror's motives. Meanwhile, Rayon is surprised to find their room quickly decorated by Dorian, who claims he did it while Rayon was in the bathroom. Our hero is certain the room was drab just moments ago, and wonders where Dorian got the decorations, especially the golden curtain. Dorian explains that he prepared everything in advance and carried it all in his bag. Rayon asks if he brought different colors, and Dorian confirms it, insisting curtains are a total necessity. He then asks about Rayon's color preferences and needs, prompting our protagonist to eye his side bag curiously. Suddenly, a young man enters, asking if they've finished unpacking. He introduces himself as Raiden, the leader of the 3rd scouting party they've been assigned to. Acknowledging the chaos of their arrival, Raiden tells them to get ready. They've already been ordered to move out. At the Ziggart family estate, Glenn is curious about Rimmer's visit. Rimmer beams as he mentions hearing about the secret banquet being mobilized to check Rayon's status, and adds that he didn't expect Glenn to care about his grandson's size, assuming Lowen must have spilled the beans despite being told to keep it a secret. However, Rimmer proudly shares that Rayon, like the hero of a level-up manhwa, obtained the two-tone flower on the bandit mission and absorbed it. He also wounded the pride of the famously arrogant Balar princess. But Glenn argues that it's not good to become a thief and incur the neighboring princess's wrath. Rimmer points out that Rayon was not at fault in the situation with the princess. He merely responded to her provocation. He predicts that even the secret banquet won't figure out how our hero stole the butterfly. Unfortunately, Rimmer learns that Glenn has already summoned Rayon and Dorian back. Shocked, he asks Glenn if he isn't curious about what our hero will do next, especially since he has received a sword from Kubarud. Glenn, however, explains they were dispatched to avoid trouble within the family, and that he has now called them back. Unexpectedly, Rimmer mentions that Glenn is getting reports from Haven Castle. Lowen quickly mutters that this isn't his fault. Next, Rimmer starts chattering, noting it was obvious Glenn would have contacted Haven Castle, and suggests telling Rayon he is the best. Rimmer adds that, if things continue like this, the misunderstanding with the Annex will soon be resolved, and Glenn's relationship with Sylvia will improve as well. Glenn, enraged, gets up to teach Rimmer a lesson. Although Rimmer tries to make excuses to leave, he still gets a beatdown and screams loudly. Meanwhile, at Haven Castle, Rayon feels as though he heard a scream. After a short time, Raiden takes our boy and Dorian to Mount Sterlin, a place that resembles hell with its thick snow and monsters. Though the view is beautiful, Raiden then suggests a test to gauge the skills of our protagonist and Dorian. He asks them about the footprints in the snow. Dorian wonders if they belong to an ice troll. However, our hero argues that troll footprints are similar to human ones, but are larger and far deeper than these. He observes that these tracks seem to come from a 4-legged animal and concludes they must be from a Kari mountain goat. Raiden is stunned, then asks if our boy can tell when the tracks were made, noting the ground isn't hard. Rayon estimates they were made within the last day and suggests they can catch the animal if they head west. Raiden then asks about the marks on a tree, and our protagonist calmly states that they are from a dire wolf, which uses its claws to mark territory on trees and boulders. Yet, the one who made this mark is already dead. He explains that dire wolves stay in the same place, and these traces are old, confirming the maker is gone. Raiden's mind is blown by our hero's smarts, recalling how their squad hazes rookies to show book knowledge is useless out here, usually by giving some helpful advice. Yet, surprise, Rayon knows way more, and this is no prank at all. Raiden then gives Dorian a look, telling him to identify the tracks on a branch. Dorian whines, but Raiden's glare persuades him. Meanwhile, our guy decides to scan the area with his legendary senses. The true soil sword glows, doing its own recon and feeding our hero intel via spirit energy. He remembers the sword did this before, absorbing spirit energy from defeated monsters and sending it straight to him, which is how he unlocked his spirit energy skills. Suddenly, Wrath appears, impatiently asking why Rayon's using that lame technique instead of the king's legendary sense, claiming his is much better. Our hero coolly replies, the sword has it covered, so there's no need for Wrath's ability. Wrath, annoyed, insists his senses are just a tiny part of his power, and way superior to the sword. Our protagonist asks how he can judge which is better, prompting Wrath's boast about being the demon world's strongest king. Rayon just shrugs. He mentions since the power is from a guy trying to hijack his body, he's not sure about the side effects. After a brief pause, Wrath tells him not to worry, since the technique he'll teach uses cold energy our guy already has. Rayon is stunned, feeling like he's in a level-up manhwa. Later, he sits on the ground while Wrath explains the technique, Glacia. An ordinary human can't even learn it. Only those with pure cold energy can. He tells our protagonist mastering it will take serious effort, instructing him to focus his mind. Our boy has to connect his inner cold energy to the cold energy in the air and just observe it. After focusing, our hero sees Wrath's cold energy blend with the snow. But Wrath says, that's superficial. At their core, they're both cold energy. He guides Rayon to see that connecting them is the whole point. Now, our boy finds this tough. Having never used cold energy this way, he realizes he has to visualize the connection itself. Then he can sense distant things as if they were right there. The area's cold energy basically becomes his eyes, ears, and skin. After a few minutes, our hero's body starts to slow down, but his senses are razor sharp. He sees Dorian and Ren, plus a dire wolf that just made a kill. It's incredible he can see not just their presence, but their actions too. Suddenly, he senses danger and rushes to tell Roden a shark mole is heading for them. Though Raiden knows this is Mount Sterlin's turf and thinks a water creature can't be here, shark moles pop up right in front of them. Raiden decides they need to bolt and warn the squad. Unfortunately, he takes a step, slips, and a shark mole growls at him. Rayon reacts in a flash, his sword striking to block the shark moles so Raiden can get help. He knows Raiden doesn't fully trust him, but urges him to trust the sword. With that, Raiden grabs Dorian and leaves, telling our boy to be careful. Instantly, the shark moles attack our hero. Fortunately, he uses his rabid fang sword to defend himself, and quickly sees the sword is performing way better than he expected. Instead of using aura, he holds off the sharks with pure sword technique. His cold energy stays linked to the environment, juicing up his swordsmanship and letting him predict the sharks' moves. He knows he needs real-world experience to truly master this. He hammers the shark moles, adapting to both the rabid fang sword and Glacia on the fly. Our protagonist learns incredibly fast. He admits coming to Havun Castle was the right call to get this kind of experience. Before long, Raiden returns with backup, only to find Rayon has already beaten all the mole shark monsters. He's stunned, since these things give the whole squad trouble. Meanwhile, our hero sees Raiden is totally speechless, tongue-tied for doubting a newcomer and almost getting the squad wiped. Then, Raiden actually bows to apologize, thanking Rayon for saving their hides. He admits he was wrong and that things got dicey because of it, sincerely showing his thanks. Rayon just says he'd have done the exact same thing if some new guy on his team acted so cocky. This makes Raiden see Rayon's real character, which makes our boy a little antsy. But now, Raiden's convinced their newbie is an angel sent to save them. To celebrate the rookie's first mission, Raiden tells the squad to meet up at the tavern. Later that night, everyone gathers at the tavern. One soldier's not buying that our hero took out all the mole sharks alone, saying he barely looks 17. But Raiden sticks up for him. Meanwhile, Wrath's just focused on the grub, declaring cheese and pineapple a match made in heaven. Though our boy silently disagrees, wondering if Wrath's taste is broken. Dorian then ribs his young master about his weird taste, admitting he couldn't stomach that pizza. Suddenly, Yua shows up and compliments our hero's looks, introducing herself and suggesting other menu items. While checking out the menu, our boy finds out Wrath wants mint chocolate chip ice cream. He's hesitant, but Yua swears their place has the best, since the mint near Haven Castle is super fresh. When Wrath dangles that secret technique he promised to teach him, our protagonist caves and orders the ice cream, still wondering why a tavern even serves a dessert like that. Curious about his skills, the squad asks how he beats 6 shark moles at once. One soldier asks how our hero got so strong so young, but thanks him for saving their bacon. They figure he'll get promoted fast and want to chat before he's a big shot. Our boy feels awkward with all the praise, not used to the attention. Finally, Yua brings the mint chocolate ice cream, and Wrath gets pumped, excitedly describing how it looks and tastes, boasting that it's cold and sweet, just like him. Then, suddenly, our protagonist asks if there are other uses for Glacia. Wrath lights up, shocked he figured it out so fast, explaining Glacia is more than just a detection spell. It's a way to use cold energy with max efficiency and power. Rayon realizes he can use it for both offense and defense, learning he could see results after a year of training. But a year is way too long, so he bets Wrath he'll master Glacia in 6 months, a true level-up Manhwa challenge. Wrath hesitates, since he's lost every single bet so far, but when our hero drops it to 5 months, Wrath instantly agrees. After a good night at the tavern, Rayon decides to head back to the dorms. As he and Dorian are leaving, Yua comes over and offers our boy pineapple cookies she baked from the leftover pizza pineapple. He thanks her, and she says to stop by any time for more. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the mountains, Patrol Team 3 hauls it to Haven Castle to tell Commander Myland about ice trolls gathering nearby. The next day, Raiden tells our boy and Dorian they have to go take out the ice trolls. Dorian starts freaking out, pointing out their first mission was just yesterday. But Raiden says his hands are tied. It's an order from the top. He remembers that earlier this morning, Commander Myland got a report from Patrol Team 2 about a bunch of ice trolls near Underground Pit Number 4. There are 13 trolls, but more could show up, so they've been told to move on it immediately. Vice Commander Tarion suggested dealing with the trolls first, before looking into the shark moles that popped up near Underground Pit Number 5. Myland then orders Tarion to take the command team and the Wolves mercenaries to wipe out the trolls and scout the area before coming back. Unexpectedly, the Vice Captain decides to bring Patrol Team 3 too, since he heard Rayon defeated all the shark moles by himself without a scratch. He figures our protagonist will be useful for this mission. Back in the present, Raiden tells Dorian and our hero to get ready and hit the hay early. After Raiden takes off, Dorian's freaking out about another mission with no rest and asks our boy if swords even work on ice trolls. Meanwhile, our guy reflects that ice trolls have thin skin from the cold and can be slain with an aura-imbued sword. Like any good level-up Manhwa troll, they have impressive, regenerative abilities. Dorian starts trembling in fear, worried about dying, but Rayon reassures him he can beat a troll if he just uses his speed. When Dorian remains nervous, our hero proposes another idea. He suggests Dorian duel him, reasoning that it'll make facing an ice troll less frightening. As expected, Dorian immediately calls ice trolls weaklings and promptly crashes for the night. The next morning at Haven Castle's main gate, the Vice Commander starts roll call. Dorian looks totally wiped, which makes Rayon curious, but Dorian insists he's fine, saying anything's better than dueling him. Suddenly, someone approaches our protagonist, introducing himself as Beto, captain of the Wolves mercenaries. Beto notes his mercenaries are eager to duel Rayon. They shake hands, expressing their anticipation of working together before Beto leaves to check on his team. Afterwards, Wrath grumbles he doesn't like Beto, advising our hero to be wary. He claims Beto has snake eyes and that people like that are usually backstabbers. Our boy takes note, having also felt uneasy when he met Beto's gaze. Suddenly, Yua arrives with the food they ordered. The soldiers are delighted she's becoming cuter and a better cook. Observing how much Yua is loved by the soldiers, our protagonist figures she has to be Haven Castle's mascot. Unexpectedly, Yua offers him some beef jerky she and her grandfather made. He's curious about the gesture, so Yua explains it is for his first expedition. Rayon pats her head and thanks her. Next, Tyrion orders everyone to line up for a pre-departure briefing. He explains their objectives: take down the ice trolls and patrol the area between Mount Sterlin and the Northern Sea. Meanwhile, our hero sees Wrath looking uncharacteristically serious. But Wrath insists it's nothing, though he senses a weird energy from the mountains. Finally, all the soldiers march out from the castle. Unexpectedly, the mercenaries order the scouts to carry their bags before departure. They insist the scouts treat the bags with as much care as their lovers, then mock them for not having anyone to love. This makes Rayon wonder why the snow attack squad expects the scouts to do this. Raiden explains that, according to the squad, main fighters must conserve strength for combat. So scouts, having less authority, are expected to comply. He adds that since this squad was assigned here, it has always been this way. The last time, the scouts had to haul all the gear back after the battle and even clean the post-mission mess. Raiden advises our boy not to take it personally, as it only makes things harder. Our protagonist finds it absurd that scouts who risk their lives scouting ahead, first to face traps or enemies, are mistreated this way. With the snow attack squad, there's no sense of unity on the front lines. Rayon mentions their captain, Ediquil, just thinks this is normal. Hearing that, Rayon quietly decides he will end this toxic tradition by personally crushing Ediquil. When everyone arrives at the spot, they are surprised to find absolutely no sign of ice trolls. Rayon insists he saw 13 trolls on the forest outskirts. Captain Ediquil frowns, saying scouts shouldn't go alone and at least one swordsman needs to accompany each scouting mission. Despite this, the vice-captain orders everyone to spread out and search for any troll tracks. After hours of searching, they still find nothing. Our hero reasons, even if ice trolls leave fewer tracks, there should be at least some trace. Rayon approaches the vice-commander for permission to investigate further. Suddenly, Ediquil interrupts, telling him to set up camp or do something useful instead of embarrassing himself. However, Tyrion gives our boy a chance. Despite Ediquil protesting, it's a waste of time. As our protagonist uses Glacia to search, Ediquil continues to complain. Suddenly, our boy announces he's found the trolls, stating they're near the frozen valley northwest of Mount Stirlin. Ediquil immediately accuses him of not taking this mission seriously, and questions if he truly pinpointed their location. When Rayon confirms, Ediquil gets even angrier, accusing him of joking around in a serious situation. Our hero calmly assures him he's not foolish enough to joke at a time like this. Once Ediquil finally settled down, Tyrion asked our protagonist how he found the trolls. Our guy explained that he used energy detection, a skill he learned from someone extremely skilled. Ediquil argued that the frozen valley was too far to confirm anything with just energy detection. Internally, the vice-commander agreed, doubting a rookie could manage a feat straight from a level-up Manhwa. But Rayon's red eyes seemed to pierce right through everything, making it difficult not to believe him. The vice-captain recalled only one person in Ziggart was known for moving through the wilds as if it were his own home, Rimmer. He thought if our guy learned this from Rimmer, he could be trusted. Bento stepped forward, expressing interest and asking how long it would take to get to the location. Our hero estimated 30 minutes to get there and more time to find a tactical position. Bento was amazed that Rayon had already thought about how to attack the trolls. Smiling, he suggested to the vice-commander that they check it out, as there were still 2 hours until sunset. Despite Ediquil's protests, Tyrion ordered everyone to move out and climb Mount Stirling, stating this was their chance to prevent danger in advance. Seeing Ediquil was still unconvinced, our protagonist proposed a bet. If they find the trolls where he predicted, the Snow Squad must speak respectfully to the scouts and carry their own gear, plus help with chores. If he was wrong, Rayon would do whatever Ediquil asked. Ediquil accepted, warning our boy to get ready for his loss. With that, all the soldiers headed toward the frozen valley. Unexpectedly, a cloaked man observed them from hiding. He was shocked to see the group moving directly toward the trolls' actual location. He was baffled that they found the trolls' whereabouts even though he had erased all the tracks. Realizing they would find the trolls faster than he thought, he decided to delay them. Then a wicked plan occurred to him, one he thought was even better, and he immediately summoned monsters. As expected, the soldiers encountered trolls blocking their path. Ediquil gritted his teeth, frustrated at how Rayon located the trolls from such a distance. Our boy approached, reminding Ediquil of their bet and stating that after this battle, the Snow Squad would be responsible for all the chores. He expected a squad captain to keep his word. Ediquil was furious, but Tyrion intervened, pointing out they were lucky. Rayon identified the trolls' location and reminding everyone to focus on their mission. Tyrion then prepared all units for the attack and signaled them to open fire. The trolls, weakened by a barrage of arrows, began to falter. The commander told the group not to give the trolls a chance to regenerate, prompting all the swordsmen to strike them down quickly. Our hero observed the effective use of formations to suppress the ice trolls. However, Bato really stood out. Just moments ago, he was calm, but now his eyes were intense and focused on battle. Dorian, noticing Rayon standing back, wondered why he wasn't rushing into the fight as usual. Our protagonist explained that their current mission was to protect the scouts, so they should remain on standby. He also hinted that he had a separate opponent to face. Soon, the scouts received orders to provide support from the rear. Rayon instructed the swordsmen to engage the trolls from the front, while those with crossbows were told to distract them. He noted their impressive progress as the group had overwhelmed the trolls from the start, preventing them from recovering their momentum. As Rayon considered buying something for Rayon, he suddenly sensed danger. Turning, he spotted an ice troll warrior and a shaman approaching. The warrior leaped at Rayon, who knew he couldn't dodge in time, but was saved by Tyrion and Bato. They urged him to stay focused, while Bato commented that these warriors are on a different level. Suddenly, they came under attack as the shaman supported from higher ground with magic. The vice commander ordered the snow attack squad with Bato to suppress the warrior and directed the scout squad to disrupt the shaman's chance. As Rayon instructed his squad to reload their crossbows, a cloaked man launched ice bolts at them. Fortunately, our hero emerged and destroyed the bolts, leaving Rayon stunned. The masked man then stepped forward, praising Rayon and Tyrion, and called them impressive. The vice commander recognized the cloaked man as Eden and grew furious, realizing who was behind the attack. Eden then conjured a formation overhead, casting the cold shadow demon curse. He announces, he ain't leaving. All the soldiers are hit by an overwhelming pressure, forced to their knees by the chilling curse. For his restoration plan, Eden declares he's going to take their lives. Fortunately, our boy charges forward and clocks Eden, stunning him with his ability to move under the curse. Rayon explains he's spent a lifetime enduring way stronger curses. Using the Rabid Fang sword and Savage Fang dance, our protagonist attacks Eden again. After landing the blow, he remarks that relying too much on cursed energy just makes you weak. As Eden weakens and the curse lifts, Edequil is left totally speechless, seeing Rayon broke a curse that even took down Tyrion. Quickly, Tyrion orders all units to crush the trolls before they regroup. After the area is cleared, Tyrion confronts Eden, telling him he failed to take out a single person and demanding to know why he staged the ambush, promising a painless end for some answers. Eden just laughs, refusing mercy, and reveals his true motive, to divide Haven Castle's forces. He then announces a final gift, and suddenly, an explosion rocks Haven Castle. As the blast echoes, Eden declares that Haven Castle will fall in this battle. All the soldiers freak out as they see smoke rising from Haven Castle. Rayon, clearly alarmed, exclaims that the castle is supposed to be an indestructible fortress. Meanwhile, the Blue Spirit, Eden, reveals their original plan was to use the attack to draw Meland out. Since that didn't go as intended, he improvised, summoning a horde of trolls to wreck Haven Castle with a chant. Those trolls must be tearing up the castle right now. In a fit of pure rage, Tyrion decks Eden, insisting that Haven Castle won't fall to a few trolls. Rayon agrees, reasoning that if Meland is inside, the fortress won't be taken. Suddenly, the Blue Spirit erupts in laughter as the ground shakes violently. Confusion spreads among the soldiers, but our protagonist suspects this is no normal earthquake. Eden brags that he orchestrated everything perfectly, and that this whole time, the defenders were playing right into his hands. He claims no one can do anything but watch Haven Castle fall, then laughs maniacally while mocking Tyrion's forces. Enraged, Tyrion eliminates Eden on the spot. He then orders all units to return to Haven Castle immediately. By now, the castle is burning from the inside. Inside, Myland commands his forces to prioritize evacuating the villagers. He orders Squad 1 to suppress the fire, and Squad 2 to block the ice trolls. Luckily, Tyrion returns with all deployed units. Meland informs them that they were ambushed by a massive horde of ice trolls, then asks if they found anything weird while away. Tyrion reports that Eden orchestrated the ambush and that they handled the Blue Spirit summoning the trolls, but warns that given Eden's words and the earthquake, this whole thing probably won't end with just trolls. Meland argues their enemies gain little from taking Haven Castle, but Tyrion counters that the chaos may trigger a monster wave earlier than expected, with ice trolls, other monsters, and an earthquake. It is a perfect plot for a level-up Manhwa. A massive wave is likely heading their way. The soldiers begin to panic, worried that the damaged castle can't withstand a monster wave. Myland yells at them to get a grip, chewing them out for acting like cowards. He reminds everyone Haven Castle is the Iron Fortress protecting the continent. If they fall, their people, families, and friends will lose their only shield. With a rousing speech, Milan fires up the troops, urging them to fight not just for themselves, but for those they love. His words immediately boost morale, leaving Rayon stunned by his incredible leadership. Milan then orders some from each squad to protect civilians and clean up, while the rest follow him to defend the castle walls. He instructs Dorian and our protagonist to stay back and help the squad inside. But Tyrion suggests bringing both of them to the walls as well. Myland hesitates, warning the two will die when the first wave hits. But Tyrion counters that our hero defeated the Blue Spirit in a single strike, and Dorian came back without a scratch. There is no reason to underestimate them. Finally, Milan commands Rayon and Dorian to join him atop the castle walls to help defend. Once there, a scout spots something insane approaching. Milan sees it too, and is totally floored. Meanwhile, Bento asks Edquil if he's ever seen a party this wild, and Edquil admits it's a first. Watching the horde, Rayon recalls Rimmer calling Haven Castle the eternal battlefield, a place where he'd fight monsters from the North Sea and Mount Stirlin, with zero chance to ever put his sword down. Right now, a massive wave of trolls is charging the castle. Myland, trying to grasp the scale of this mess, asks for the enemy's numbers. Carrion reports about 1,000, visible, but with how they're coming, he figures it could be tens of thousands. Rayon is stunned, realizing his enhanced senses can't even count them. Milan then asks if he's familiar with these waves, and our protagonist says he knows a little. He reflects, recalling that stopping the waves always means countless casualties. That's why soldiers go on expeditions, to prep for the waves and minimize losses. You can rebuild walls, but not people. In the present, he gets the order, protect as many soldiers as possible. Suddenly, the monsters roar, and Myland orders everyone to raise their swords. Fear or no fear, he rallies them, yelling that anyone trained at Haven Castle can handle this, then raises his sword, promising drinks on him when it's over. Shield and spear warriors hit the front lines. Archers take the ramparts, and on Milan's signal, arrows rain down on the monsters, wounding many. But a scout soon warns of an elite orc charging the main gate. The soldiers try to block it, only to find the brute is unfazed. Milan steps up, vowing to hold the gate himself. Meanwhile, orcs start climbing the walls, and soldiers are ordered to blast them with aura at the top. Despite their efforts, one orc gets over, and a soldier yells for help. Fortunately, our boy rushes in, taking out the orc in one strike. He pants, realizing this is pure hell. A scene from a level-up manhwa. Despite slaying hundreds of monsters, it feels like he hasn't made a dent. Suddenly, the order comes. All units, brace for impact. A boom skull heads for the castle's right side, and the monster explodes against the wall, knocking our protagonist flat. Worried about the other soldiers, he hears agonizing screams and sees many have fallen from the wall. As he moves to help them, he gets an aura message from Myland. Stay put and defend the intact walls, reminding him if they focus on the small things, the big picture will crumble. Rayon gets the logic. Abandon the walls to save the injured, and all defenses collapse. Still, he's not a commander, so he makes it his goal to stop as many soldiers from dying as possible. Unexpectedly, our hero leaps off the wall to protect the wounded, prompting Wrath to call him insane, asking if he can possibly hold out while defending them. Our protagonist admits it'll be tough, but resolves to push his senses to the absolute limit and try. Wrath scolds him for being emotional, warning that only death awaits. Internally, Rayon agrees, retreating is the smart move, but he swore this life to be a swordsman, not an assassin. Steeling himself, he grips his sword, declaring no one gets past him. He's determined to survive and endure this hell. With new resolve, our boy starts relentlessly cutting down monsters. The battle is unending, his hands torn and bleeding, using every last drop of aura. All he feels is his sword slicing through flesh. All he sees is crimson. Time blurs as the blood-red moon flickers and fades. Eventually, he realizes there are no monsters left in front of him. Elsewhere, a masked lady watches Rayon through her orb. Her original goal was to destroy Haven Castle to get the incarnated body, but instead, she's found an unexpected prize in our protagonist's performance. As day breaks, Rayon wakes up in a bed. His last memory, the castle walls collapsing, and his struggle to hold out until the cave opened. Suddenly, Yua rushes to his side, tears streaming as she finds him finally awake. Later, Dorian tells him everyone was totally freaking out because he was out cold for a full 3 days. Nothing they tried worked, so they feared he might have actually died. Our hero nervously apologizes for the scare and thanks Dorian for watching over him, but Dorian insists the real props go to Yua, who tirelessly stayed by his side until the wave finally ended, even while she was swamped working at the tavern. Soon after, Yua enters with a bowl of soup, telling our boy to eat slow since the ingredients are extra soft. Gratefully, Rayon thanks her for taking care of him. She just cheerfully replies, saying it's basic service to look after regulars, and suggests he drop by the tavern to boost sales now. As our hero gets up, he suggests hitting Branch of Frost tonight, saying he's craving some greasy food. Dorian, however, thinks it's better for our guy to show everyone he's finally okay, since people have been anxiously waiting for him to recover. When Dorian opens the door, the soldiers greet Rayon as the hero of Haven Castle. Their relief and joy, completely obvious. Several admit they were seriously worried he'd never wake up and thank him for protecting Haven Castle. Some call him a badass for leaping into the battle's heart. One promises drinks are on him, and another vows to never forget this debt. Overwhelmed and stunned, our boy just stands there speechless. Just as Milan arrives, he's clearly pleased to see Rayon awake and safe. He explains this wave was unlike any before, on a much larger scale. Normally, this would cause huge casualties, but thanks to our hero, who didn't hesitate to jump off the wall, not a single life was lost this time. Milan stresses that even though Rayon is a mercenary, the entire fortress is deeply indebted to him, and he expresses his sincere thanks. At that moment, Edequil steps forward, surprising our protagonist. Edequil admits he totally misjudged Rayon, having believed he was just another rookie mercenary. Even after seeing his skills, Edequil confesses he still looked down on him. By selflessly jumping down to protect his comrades, Rayon showed the true image of a swordsman. Unexpectedly, Edequil bows his head, sincerely apologizing for how he treated our boy. Afterward, Milan announces their victory deserves a festival. All food and drinks at Branch of Frost will be free for 3 days, so everyone can celebrate like there's no tomorrow. Hyped, the soldiers rush off to drink and be merry, like they've come back from the dead. Our hero watches them smile, as Milan tells him to join in, promising to catch up after his meeting. The vice commander and corps leaders follow Milan, while Dorian tells our guy to save their seats and get the party started. Later in the meeting hall, Milan wonders aloud if they're all just going to praise Rayon. But Tyrion insists the greatest reward and proper pay are due, since our boy saved countless lives. Milan considers giving him something more valuable than gold, the Haven Castle artifact. Roden is stunned, thinking Milan means the Snowhorned sword, while Tyrion is shocked, thinking Rayon will become the next lord of Haven Castle. Milan clarifies that the sword is just a symbol. Instead, he plans to grant him armor made from the Orc Lord's Mana Stone, the White Soul armor. This armor is way more valuable than the Snowhorned sword, but given what our protagonist did, it's the least they can offer. Milan explains he'll only feel at ease if Rayon is protected by this armor. Tyrion and Roden wholeheartedly agree, saying, it's the perfect gift for someone who saved so many lives. However, Edequil raises a question, asking if our hero is really an ordinary mercenary, since his skills were like something from a level-up manhwa, far beyond any regular merc. Edequil observes Rayon's abilities set him apart and wants to know his true identity. Unexpectedly, Milan apologizes and explains there are reasons he can't spill all the beans right now, but he assures Edequil's crew our guy is the real deal. Milan says Ron will reveal his identity when the time's right, like a classic level-up manhwa hero, but for now, just trust him, he's pure. With that, he urged everyone to enjoy the festival and celebrate a new hero's birth. 10 months have flown by since Rayon first showed up at Haven Castle. For our protagonist, that time felt both long and short. So much went down. He's accomplished a ton. Thanks to the true soul sword he got from Kubarud, our boy learned to handle spirit energy. He survived a monster wave at Haven Castle, a battle so fierce they call it Hell's Battlefield. After enduring that, our hero unlocked a new way to use Glacia, amping up his abilities even more. Through these ordeals, the folks at Haven Castle became his ride-or-die crew. Stories of his exploits spread across the continent, like a viral level-up manhwa, and people gave Rayon a new nickname. Tales of the hero of Havun Castle are now told far and wide. Meanwhile, in the continent's northwest region, across the Levine Desert, Byrne catches wind of the hero of Haven Castle. A green-haired guy tells him a blonde swordsman fought till dawn to protect the wounded, earning the titles Hero of Haven Castle and Sword Demon. Byrne feels a jolt of excitement, realizing Rayon is still getting stronger. After a beat, the green-haired man sits by him and asks if Rayon's the one Byrne is trying to surpass. Byrne confirms it, and the guy wonders why he's so hyped. Not pissed, even though the person he wants to beat is getting even stronger. Byrne replies that it's more fun this way. Chasing a stronger rival is more rewarding, and the stronger our hero gets, the stronger Byrne will get too. The green-haired man ribs Byrne, saying they must be close. But Byrne insists they're just rivals. On the far side of the Levine Desert, Martha hears similar rumors about Haven Castle's hero. Her assistant says that according to gossip, Haven Castle stopped a monster wave thanks to Rayon. Martha sighs. openly wondering just how much stronger he's gonna get. Her assistant, however, is skeptical, saying rumors are always overblown and insisting Martha's stronger, pointing to the monsters she just wrecked. Martha objects, saying it's still not enough. She can sense our boy has gotten way more powerful, like a classic level-up manhwa hero. This worries her assistant, who asks what kind of person makes Martha feel this way. Martha explains Rayon once saved her life and is, in fact, her rival. Deep inside the Kadam jungle base, someone brings up the wild story to Runan, questioning how one guy could leap off walls and protect all the injured in that chaos. A short-haired female warrior scoffs at it as a mere rumor, claiming some kid couldn't possibly do all that. So another warrior asks for Runan's take. Runan calmly replies that the rumors are absolutely true. Our boy is totally capable of such feats. The short-haired warrior suggests he must be weaker than Runan, but she insists he's actually stronger, both physically and mentally. The others are floored, considering Runan's reputation for conquering that jungle in just 6 hours. Then a warrior in a tree notes Runan acts differently whenever Rayon is mentioned, guessing if she considers him a rival. Runan clarifies she wants to be strong enough to fight by his side, not as a rival, but as someone who can back him up without being a burden. Meanwhile, our hero is sitting on a snowy mountaintop, focused on practicing Glacia. He notes, the more he uses it, the more vivid his senses get. Now he can see for miles, even with his eyes closed. He remembers how ticked off Wrath was when he first got this skill. But lately, Wrath has been weirdly quiet, always staring toward the peak of Mount Sterling. Sensing a chance, our protagonist decides to bait Wrath with a bet for some info. Unexpectedly, Wrath himself proposes a wager. Rayon, curious, asks what kind of bet he's thinking. Wrath asks if Rimmer's test was for Rayon to survive at Haven Castle for a whole year, and our hero confirms, adding he's only got 2 months left. Wrath bets that Rayon won't make it through the final 2 months at the castle. Our protagonist just laughs it off, so Wrath insists that he never, ever lies. Our boy snaps back that Wrath has lied a ton, wondering aloud if he's just being an idiot since graduation is 2 months away and the big wave is over. With the Blue Spirit Balkan defeated, with extra troops stationed at Haven Castle, another attack by Eden is highly unlikely. If that guy has any sense, he won't risk another showdown. Rayon figures all he has to do is get back to Ziggart in one piece. Smiling, he takes Wrath's bet, and Wrath gets visibly hyped. It's been 1 month since Rayon took that bet, which leaves just 1 month until his graduation exam is over. Despite Wrath's doomsday predictions, things have stayed peaceful at Haven Castle, unfolding way differently than Wrath expected. Frustrated, Wrath even yelled at Mount Sterling, calling it a lazy bum. Then one day, our guy spots a weirdly high number of crows circling the castle, making him wonder if a monster showed up nearby. Then, out of nowhere, he steps on something. Looking closer, he finds a frog, which totally weirds him out since frogs shouldn't be out in this cold. All of a sudden, the ground starts shaking violently, and people start screaming, thinking it's an earthquake. The warning bell blares, and scouts yell that a monster wave has appeared. Panic rips through the soldiers since it's not wave season, and they scramble to the walls to defend the castle. Raiden quickly finds Rayon, telling him they should go together and to hurry up while they warn others on the way. As the soldiers fight the monsters, they realize this wave is just as huge as the last one. Meanwhile, Tyrion asks Myland if Eden is behind this, since nothing else explains the monster's behavior. However, our hero senses something is different this time. The monsters aren't attacking to kill. It looks like they're running from something way more dangerous. Suddenly, Wrath warns that something's coming, and reminds our hero he should have bailed when he had the chance. Wrath claims this is Rayon's fate for ignoring him. Curious and uneasy, our boy asks, what's going on? But Wrath just says it's too late. The thing's already awake and has sensed everyone here. Wrath adds it won't stop until it's wiped out everything and everyone in the castle. Disappearing into the bracelet, Wrath adds the creature might stop for a big enough sacrifice. Panicking, Rayon demands to know what's coming and what Wrath means by sacrifice. But Wrath refuses to explain, saying he's not obligated to explain jack squat. Next, our protagonist goes straight to Commander Myland with a heavy question. What's the plan if an enemy shows up that we can't beat? Myland is floored by the question, admitting he never thought Rayon would ask something like that. He says they must fight no matter what, because countless lives depend on them. Even if it means their own deaths, they have to buy time for the people to evacuate. That is the whole reason Haven Castle exists. Suddenly, a monster sneaks up on Rayon, but our boy, like a hero from a level-up manhwa, slays it instantly, all while realizing they have no clue what they're really up against. So, bailing early isn't even an option. For now, he decides to focus on stopping the wave. Later that night, Ed Quill senses something off about the monsters and tells his men to push him back while they're still dazed. All of a sudden, our hero notices animals stampeding toward the castle, just like the crows, which blows his mind. He's never seen anything like this during a wave. Elsewhere, Myland orders Tyrion to send out troops to evacuate all civilians, even those outside the castle. Tyrion just freezes, but Myland insists there's no time to waste, forcing him to obey. Afterward, Myland sends an aura message to Rayon, telling him to get out if things go south. When our boy asks why, Myland says he gets what he meant earlier and begs him to save himself. Insisting he has a greater destiny ahead of him, he assures our hero his actions will never be forgotten by Haven Castle. But Rayon just grits his teeth, unwilling to just abandon everyone. He's determined not to let people die while he runs away. He absolutely refuses to escape alone. Suddenly, he senses a horrifying presence and realizes with a chill that over 12 hours have passed with no sunrise. Then, a horned figure drifts toward the castle, muttering that it's cold, tired, and just sick of it all. Now that it's awake, it claims it has no choice but to erase everything. Our boy freezes in terror at the sight, and Wrath appears, admitting Rayon was slow on the uptake. Wrath finally reveals the figure is Sloth, the receiver, a demon lord on Wrath's level, and the monarch of laziness. Milan's arm starts trembling, utterly floored that such a being could even exist. Our boy is stunned to see a master like Milan reacting this way. He realizes it's because Milan is a master that he can feel the difference so clearly. Wrath pops in, pointing out that Sloth has gotten even stronger than he was back in the demon world. Our hero demands to know why Sloth is here, thinking Wrath was the only one who dropped into the human world. Wrath dodges the question at first, claiming Rayon's level is too low for this, but then caves and explains Sloth's appearance over the last year. It's a classic level-up manhwa scenario. Wrath says, all the conflicts, big and small, including Eden's attacks, sent tremors all the way to the mountain peak, waking Sloth from his sleep. Sloth had been kind of drifting in and out, but now he's fully awake. Wrath decides, it's story time, noting the demon world is a place of endless carnage, a place where sleeping openly makes you a giant, glowing target. And yet, Sloth, who can't stop napping, somehow became a demon lord. He'd just erase anyone who bothered his sleep or challenged him, slaughtering them for 1,000 years until he was the boss. Now, Wrath explains, Sloth is here to delete everyone who disturbed his slumber. When our protagonist asks if there's a way to stop him, Wrath explains that if a heavy hitter like himself or Rayon's grandpa was around, Sloth would probably just avoid the fight. Our hero is confused. Doesn't Sloth destroy anyone who wakes him? Wrath clarifies that if a fight goes on too long, Sloth can't sleep, which he hates more. Rayon realizes Sloth bases every single decision on his sleep schedule. Suddenly, Wrath gives our boy two choices: give him full control, or face total annihilation. Wrath insists those are the only options on the table if our protagonist wants to save everyone. Our hero is forced to think fast. He knows that giving Wrath control could unleash the worst-case scenario to demon lords, but he decides if it comes down to it, he'll let Wrath take over, but only on the condition that he blocks Sloth. Just as our hero is about to agree, Milan steps forward. He expresses his deepest thanks. Milan says, ever since Rayon showed up, things have improved, and the way you led the last wave was totally reliable. Now, Milan wants to set an example for the others. So, he starts channeling his entire aura into his sword. He says his time is up, but Rayon's era is just beginning. Our boy can achieve so much more. Inspired by Milan's bravery, Rayon feels ashamed for thinking of giving in. He gathers his own aura, ready for a fight, and tells the commander he can't handle this alone, so he'll stand right beside him. Our boy yells for everyone to evacuate, claiming it's Milan's order. Tyrion protests from the rear, refusing to leave them behind and wanting to fight to the end. Milan shouts back at Tyrion, pointing out he can barely stand, so his duty is to go save at least one more person. This is their purpose now. Reluctantly, Tyrion orders all units to abandon the walls and open the south gate. Every second Milan and Rayon hold on saves another life. The soldiers start to fall back, yelling for Rayon and the commander to survive. Meanwhile, Wrath just smirks, He mocks their efforts as pointless, since Sloth is already at the gate. Sloth mutters about being cold and tired, then unleashes a casual wave of energy at the castle. It nearly knocks our hero flat. Rayon realizes the pressure from before wasn't even Sloth's full power. Wrath repeats his deal. If our boy wants to block Sloth, he must give up his body, otherwise, it's game over for everyone. Yet, our protagonist isn't giving up. He believes there has to be another way. Using everything he's learned, he recalls all the info he has on Sloth: time, simplicity, annoyance, strength, cold, and sleepiness. Putting it all together, our protagonist suddenly proposes a new deal to Wrath. Wrath is surprised. Rayon explains he'll take on Wrath's anger in exchange for the power to face Sloth. Wrath scoffs, arguing that the idea is pointless and there's no profit in it for him. Our boy counters, threatening to just deny Wrath his body completely. If Wrath refuses, they both die. But if Rayon's plan fails, he'll immediately hand over control. A frustrated Wrath goes silent as Milan collapses nearby. Rayon screams at Wrath to decide. Now. With no other choice, Wrath finally relents, grumbling that our protagonist is going to pay for this. As a result, Sloth feels Wrath's energy and freezes. Unexpectedly, our hero declares that a being like Sloth has no business here, since this is the Lord of Wrath's turf, and Rayon is his current vessel. Wrath is left completely speechless, then explodes in disbelief, demanding how our boy became his vessel and what the heck he's trying to pull. Internally, our protagonist admits he's just punishing Wrath for constantly messing with him. Wrath is totally bewildered, demanding to know why Rayon just declared this castle his domain. Our hero just ignores the demand, offering no reply. Meanwhile, Sloth pauses, wanting to confirm if Rayon really is Wrath's vessel. Calmly, our protagonist affirms it, adding that Wrath is currently raging at anyone who dares step on his territory. Inside, Wrath shouts at Rayon to stop spouting total nonsense, insisting he never said any of that. But our boy knows Wrath's protests are pointless. Sloth will only sense the pure wrath radiating from him, the very emotion he's built up for this moment through their bet. As Wrath's vessel, and like the hero of a level-up manhwa, Rayon tells Sloth to sear his will into his heart right now. Taking a deep breath, our boy screams as if channeling Wrath, declaring Sloth must die for trespassing and threatening that if Sloth dares not to leave, Wrath will make damn sure he never sleeps again. Wrath, totally confused, asks if Rayon's gone insane, pointing out he never said anything like that. And what do you know? Sloth starts to worry, his mind racing with the fear that he might actually lose his ability to sleep. Seeing this reaction, our hero is amazed. His plan is working and continues the act, pretending to reason with Wrath, stuttering and acting scared like he's trying to stop Wrath from appearing directly. Wrath is left completely confused, trying to figure out what in the world Rayon is doing. Keeping up the charade, Rayon tells Wrath not to waste his power on Sloth, since it's needed for conquering the continent. Finally, Sloth speaks up, his gaze locked on the bracelet our boy wears. Still, our boy sticks to his act, asking Wrath if he's really going to get revenge because Sloth dared to attack his subordinates, and if he's going to follow Sloth forever just to rob him of sleep. At this, Sloth freezes, contemplating the horror of being hunted endlessly, never allowed to rest. He wonders aloud if Wrath would actually fight him the entire time. Deep down, Sloth realizes that if he keeps fighting Wrath, he'll never be able to sleep again. Seeing a human with Wrath's bracelet who also knows his deepest weakness, Sloth is convinced Rayon really is the vessel. Internally, Rayon marvels that he created such a perfect pain-in-the-neck dilemma for Sloth, just as Wrath described. By showing the bracelet and using Sloth's greatest irritation, things are unfolding perfectly, like a scene from a level-up manhwa. Introducing himself again, our hero declares he is Wrath's vessel, destined to become the body for Wrath's descent. He openly tells Sloth the reason he came was because the wave disturbed his sleep. Then he starts shifting the blame, explaining that Eden orchestrated the whole thing, using monsters as pawns. Rayon insists they just defended themselves and have no clue where Eden is. After a moment, Sloth says that if what Rayon says is true, he's got no reason to fight and will just leave and sleep. Feeling Sloth's energy fade, our protagonist decides to push his luck. He pretends Wrath is about to emerge and fight, acting panicked as if Wrath has more to say. Then he declares, as if quoting Wrath, that Sloth can't just leave after attacking his subordinates. Sloth tries to protest, but Rayon, in Wrath's voice, orders him to be silent. pointing out that if he, Wrath, hadn't shown up, Sloth would have wiped everybody out. He invokes the old rule of a life for a life. Because Sloth's actions led to his subordinates' deaths, a payment must be made. The choice is clear. Either Sloth gives up his sleep, or he transfers his power to the king's vessel. Wrath is absolutely shocked, realizing that was Rayon's plan all along. Sloth, finding the choice a no-brainer, starts pouring his power right into Rayon. As Wrath screams for Sloth to destroy him, he protests. He's being duped by a human, he could just flick away. But Sloth calmly keeps transferring his power. The system alerts our hero that a piece of Sloth's power, a true level-up Manhwa moment, is now in his soul and body. Activating after some adaptation time, our protagonist feels Sloth's energy flow in, while Wrath collapses in despair. Sure, the stress is gonna kill him. Sloth, now way too sleepy to care, gets ready to leave. But Rayon stops him again. Annoyed, Sloth glares at our boy with overwhelming power, warning Rayon not to push it. Instead, he offers Sloth the Goblin King's magic stone. Feeling its warmth, Sloth thinks he can finally sleep forever. Our hero then proposes a deal. Whatever happens here later, Sloth doesn't return. And if another wave hits, Sloth must stop it himself. Sloth thinks it over, saying it's not hard, and asks if this is Wrath's request. Rayon clarifies it's his own deal, to keep Sloth from ever showing up again. Unexpectedly, Sloth offers something in return for the valuable magic stone. He raises a hand and gives Rayon a flower bracelet, just like Wrath's, explaining it'll help him one day. Rayon is confused about the flower bracelet, but Sloth says it was made to his master's taste, then quickly dips before Wrath can hassle him again. Afterward, Rayon tells himself he can't collapse until Sloth is gone and the sun is up. He admits just how dangerous that was, while a totally defeated Wrath just curses him. Our protagonist feels a huge wave of relief, thankful for what he knew about Sloth and that he got Wrath to agree to the bet. He knows if the people in the castle had been awake, he never could have pulled off this crazy gambit. As the hopeless night ends, the sun finally rises with Sloth gone, ending the nightmare at last. As the sun comes up, Milland and the other soldiers slowly start to wake up. Milland recalls a massive shockwave of energy at the end, an energy from that horned guy, who had reached the Absolute's realm, reminding him of the legendary Northern King of Annihilation. He's just stunned to find himself alive. Suddenly, Tyrion runs over and asks if Milland is okay. Milland, worried about the others, is about to say everyone's fine, but stops short when he sees Rayon standing up front. Milland is in shock, and Rayon tells everyone he kept his promise. Tyrion is just awestruck, wondering if our boy actually suppressed that monster. Even Milland got knocked out, but Rayon managed to hold on until the very end. Our hero is relieved everyone's safe, but then he collapses and Milland catches him, calling him their hero. 3 days go by, and life at Haven Castle gets back to normal. Milland asks if Rayon has woken up, and Tyrion reports he's still sleeping, but seems okay. Milland figures his body is just exhausted and needs time. Then, Tyrion asks about the horned figure, wondering who it was, since it's all a blank after that moment. Milland explains the figure must have been a demon. The aura felt cruel and sinister, definitely demonic. A shockwave that powerful could only be from a demon king. Milland admits that unless someone like the Northern King of Annihilation was there, no one could fight a demon king. The question is, how did Rayon pull it off, with all of them surviving? Edequil suggests that maybe Rayon negotiated with the demon king, since beating one is impossible, making a deal the only real option. Edequil thinks our boy must have offered his body and soul to save them all. Milland recalls hearing negotiation while out, and Edequil wonders if Rayon really sacrificed himself for them. Now he's even more curious about who our hero really is. Finally, Milland reveals that Rayon is of Ziggart blood. Edequil notes that only someone from the 6 emperors or 5 demons could show such talent at 16. Tyrion had also suspected Rayon wasn't normal, and it all makes sense if he's a Ziggart. Milland feels he owes Rayon big time for his sacrifice, and is ready to back him up from now on. Eventually, Rayon wakes up in the familiar medical room, figuring things went well since he's alive. As he sits up, he spots Yua crashed out by his bed, with a bucket and towels nearby, making him wonder if she'd been playing nurse the entire time. Even though she didn't know when he'd wake up, she cared for him non-stop. Oddly, Rayon feels zero exhaustion. In fact, he feels totally refreshed, his senses way sharper than before. Suddenly, Wrath asks if he feels lighter and starts freaking out, calling Rayon a fraud because his own head feels weird, not his body. Instead of arguing, our guy thanks Wrath for the save. But Wrath thinks he's being punked and starts making threats. Wrath wonders if Rayon is the only person alive who could fool 2 demon lords, calling Sloth the dumbest demon king ever for being tricked. 2. He yells it's insane for Rayon's soul to grow just from surviving against Sloth for a few minutes. Confused, Rayon checks his stats like in a level-up manhwa and finds a ton of rewards with many skills upgraded. He realizes he never got a chance to review them before passing out. But now he sees something wild. Due to the trait Sloth, his stats actually increase while he's sleeping. Both Wrath and our boy are floored by this revelation. Now Rayon gets why he feels so refreshed. His nap was equal to 24 hours of training. He's thrilled to have gained even more than he expected, while Wrath is just fuming at Sloth for not finishing the job. Wrath demands Rayon's exact stats, and our boy replies that they've increased by about 11. This leaves Wrath speechless, then furious, roaring at how much our hero leached from him. Rayon, smiling, says his stats are rising again thanks to Wrath's little tantrum. Just then, Yua wakes up and Ren walks into the room. They both ask if Rayon is feeling okay, and he reassures them they're worrying way too much. Ren then mentions that Commander Myland wants to see him. Later, our protagonist greets the commander, who is relieved to see him fully recovered and says he's never seen anyone heal so fast, predicting our boy will surpass him soon enough. Rayon humbly says he just got lucky, but Myland insists he shouldn't be so modest. Then, apologizing for the timing, Myland asks how he handled the demon. All eyes lock onto Rayon, who thinks to himself that these guys know nothing about demon kings and might kick him out if they think he's connected to them. As he's scrambling to think of an excuse, Myland cuts him off, saying Rayon isn't obligated to answer. This completely confuses our hero, but Myland continues, explaining they know the monster was a demon king, and they believe Rayon negotiated with it to make it leave. They assume Rayon used his own body and soul as bargaining chips to save everyone. Our boy is speechless, as Edquil and Tyrion agree, calling it a selfless act to negotiate with a demon king. Feeling things are spiraling out of control, our hero is at a total loss. Meanwhile, Wrath is screaming that it was Sloth who gave up his soul, not Rayon, and that a demon king would never want a human soul anyway. Myland rises and declares that since Rayon sacrificed so much, they must repay him. He and all the captains pay their respects, declaring that Haven Castle now stands behind him and that he only needs to ask if he ever needs anything. Rayon, after a moment, says there is one thing he'd like, a sparring match with Commander Myland before going home. Time flies, and soon Rayon is just 1 week from graduation. Thanks to Sloth, our protagonist has gotten used to his body's increasing strength, gaining a much deeper feel for his new abilities, and now his physical condition is at its absolute peak. Today, he heads to the arena to spar with Myland, and the gathered crowd shouts their encouragement, yelling for him to defeat the commander before he leaves. Myland asks if he's ready, and our boy assures him that he is thoroughly prepared, having been waiting for this moment. Without further delay, Myland declares the match will begin. Our hero immediately feels the overwhelming aura of Myland, the master of Haven Castle. He takes the initiative, charging forward to strike, but the commander blocks the attack with ridiculous ease. They trade a series of swift strikes and blocks, each blow echoing across the arena. Edquil feels the shockwaves from their clash, while Tyrion, watching closely, is stunned to see Rayon, still just an expert, pushing the commander this far. Tyrion remarks that Rayon's growth and accomplishments are just on another level, and at this rate, he's only a small step from becoming a master himself, like a real-life level-up manhwa protagonist. Someone else comments that Rayon was nowhere near this strong when he first arrived. During the heated clash, Myland notes that while our boy's power and speed are impressive, his attacks lack a certain edge. He reminds Rayon it's a practice duel, then pointedly asks if he truly thinks he can win so easily. Our protagonist just replies, "I'm getting stronger," wielding his rabid fang sword. He attacks again, and, spotting an opening, quickly throws a punch. But unexpectedly, Myland effortlessly blocks the punch bare-handed and instantly counters, forcing Rayon to leap back. Our boy is baffled, having thought a powerful attack would guarantee a hit. Yet, Myland not only blocked it but was ready to counter. He also sees the commander isn't even breaking a sweat. Myland, seeing the surprised look on Rayon's face, prompts him to spit it out. Our hero points out that Myland predicts all his moves and, despite constantly using his aura, shows zero signs of fatigue. Myland explains, the difference is the middle energy core. which opens only when one reaches the master level. This core lets a master generate insane power with minimal effort. Myland admits Rayon is top tier among experts, but hasn't become a master yet. So, in a match of sheer stamina and power, he can't win. This bombshell stuns our hero, who now sees firsthand the huge advantage of the middle energy core and a master's true power. A grin spreads across Rayon's face when Myland asks why. Our boy explains he's happy to see the path forward, there's still so much more to learn. In response, Myland decides to show Rayon what mastery really means. Gathering his full strength, he prepares his signature skill, Ice Dragon's Bane. It's the same technique that once destroyed the Ice Dragon with the ice-horned sword. Myland unleashes it, but our hero refuses to dodge. Believing this is a rare chance to learn and test his progress, he activates his own skill. A curious Myland asks for the technique's name. Our protagonist, combining his training from Haven Castle with memories of the Thousand Flames technique from his battle with Sloth, introduces his strongest move, the 10th flame of the Thousand Flames, Fire Dragon's Breath. He just calls it Fire Dragon's Breath, though. Myland is now pumped to see whose power wins, his own sword or our hero's dragon. The two warriors charge, and their skills collide in a massive explosion that fills the arena with dust and smoke. Tyrion is blown away by the sheer force, wondering if Rayon is actually matching the commander head-on in this level-up Manhwa-style fight. As the dust settles, everyone anxiously waits to see who's victorious. Shockingly, both Myland and our protagonist are still standing in the arena. Rayon bows respectfully, thanking Myland for the lesson and humbly admitting his defeat. The crowd goes wild. Everyone cheers for the commander's victory, while showering praise on Rayon for his incredible performance. His name echoes as everyone celebrates his growth and spirit. Meanwhile, Myland privately marvels at our hero's ridiculous talent. He expected his aura alone would be enough, but he actually had to use protective energy. Internally, Myland feels certain he made the right call in backing Rayon's journey. Rayon and Dorian are finally preparing to leave Haven Castle. Roden remarks that he's gotten used to having our hero around, while Bento offers words of praise for his achievements. In response, Rayon thanks Myland for everything. Myland tells him to stay safe. Tyrion encourages our hero to visit any time, and Bento hopes their paths will cross again. Next, Edquill steps forward, and our boy playfully asks if Edquill's going to bully the patrol squad again. Edquill immediately denies it, but Rayon laughs, admitting he was just joking and that it was an honor to fight alongside him. They shake hands, both hoping to get even stronger. As Rayon and Dorian depart, the soldiers gather to thank them and bid a heartfelt farewell. Outside the gates, Dorian explains their route. If they head straight there and book it, Rayon will make it in time for graduation. Suddenly, Yua appears, totally out of breath from rushing over. Seeing her, our boy admits he was bummed about not seeing her before leaving, but is glad for the chance now. Yua apologizes for being late, explaining she was packing food for their trip. Wrath, ever hopeful, asks if pineapple pizza's on the menu. Rayon expresses his thanks, and Yua quietly adds she needs a favor. When Rayon gives her his full attention, she chickens out and decides not to say anything yet, leaving our protagonist confused, as Yua promises to fill him in later. With goodbyes said, Dorian and our hero finally hit the road. Watching them go, Yua silently vows to ask Rayon someday if she can walk the path of life with him. A whole year has now passed since the 5th Training Hall's graduation exam started. The trainees have gained experience and accomplishments, and the once empty hall is now full of transformed young swordsmen. Among themselves, they discuss their newfound strength. Some, confident they'll hit expert level soon. Meanwhile, Rimmer quietly observes from afar. Suddenly, a trainee asks if Rayon is back since graduation is tomorrow. Another worries something might have happened to him. Rimmer stands and reassures them, saying, our protagonist isn't someone who gets snatched easily. He tells them to stop worrying and just focus on the ceremony, then sits back down smiling as the trainees leave. Yet, concern is eating at him, and he soon calls Lowen for help. Lowen says his hands are tied, but Rimmer gets desperate, grabbing Lowen's legs and wailing that Rayon hasn't returned. He should have been back a month ago. Normally, Rimmer would sneak a letter out, but the Heavenly Sword Order, Guardians of the Shadow Society, have completely blocked his route, even rigging the ceiling with traps. Lowen wishes he could help, but claims he can't get any intel on our boy, since Glenn classifies everything about him as top secret. Rimmer, getting frustrated, grumbles that if Glenn cares that much, he should at least show his grandson some affection. Totally exasperated, Rimmer decides to just ask Glenn directly. He promises Lowen he'll share whatever Glenn says and then marches off as Lowen watches anxiously toward the inner residence. Shortly after, Glenn furiously unleashes his power to handle Rimmer. At the Ziggart Central Marshal Hall, Karun gets a report that Rayon might be dead. According to his aide, our boy was due back a month ago, so a group was sent to check on him, but they never reached Haven Castle because of a freak wave. The crisis was eventually stopped, but with zero word from Rayon. The assumption is, he's either seriously injured or dead. Karun also hears that an anxious Rimmer went to see Glenn. Karun, however, is secretly thrilled that our boy is gone without him having to lift a finger. The assistant wonders if Eden attacked, since Rayon protected Haven Castle from the Blue Spirit, and Karun speculates that as a pain to Eden, Rayon may have been targeted, too. Still, the aide isn't certain Rayon is actually dead. Karun thinks back on the graduation exam, explaining that Rimmer's test is to gauge a trainee's progress and see if they qualify as swordsmen. It takes days to a week, so even if Rayon gets back tonight, he won't be able to participate. Karun looks forward to seeing our hero's face when he learns he's failed. As his assistant leaves, Karun muses to himself that he'd wondered how to deal with the kid. But now, this is the end. He admits. Though, Rayon was at least entertaining. The 5th training hall graduation ceremony day has finally arrived. Sylvia, standing on the side, is worried sick about her son and thinks if this ceremony continues, he will be disqualified. Her maid assures her the ceremony won't start without the head trainee. On the other hand, Karun feels pretty smug. Meanwhile, the trainees are chatting about the ceremony and the missions they cleared to get here, like in some level-up manhwa. Suddenly, Burin approaches and tells them to quit wasting time chatting, since it's almost graduation. He advises them to stop messing around and get back to their seats, sighing as he wonders when they will ever act their age. From behind, Martha approaches Burin and says he hasn't changed, still as stiff as ever. Burin notes to himself that Martha's sharp tongue hasn't changed one bit either. She, however, couldn't care less if her words are harsh or not. Burin reminds her it's going to be tough for her after graduation if she keeps trying to pick a fight over everything. Martha, with her usual attitude, claims a good beatdown, silences any talk. This makes Burin wonder how long her confidence will last as he looks toward the gate, wondering why Rayon hasn't shown up yet. He wonders if our boy really got jumped by Eden or something. However, Runan is sure Rayon will return, saying he can't lose to guys like Eden. Unexpectedly, Martha says it'd be better for her if he's a no-show, since she would become the representative. Runan starts yelling that our protagonist will definitely be back and tells Martha to shut her trap. Martha yells back that if he was coming, he'd already be here, while Burin tries to play peacemaker. Then, suddenly, the announcer kicks off the graduation ceremony, instructing all trainees to move to their assigned spots. The announcer then heralds the arrival of Ziggart's eternal son, the rightful owner of the North, Patriarch Glenn Ziggart. Everyone roars to greet the patriarch. Afterwards, Rimmer nervously asks Glenn to hold on, since 2 trainees haven't returned yet. Glenn refuses, stating everyone was told graduation was in February. If they aren't back by now, they are simply not qualified to graduate. He then asks if Rimmer is suggesting a delay just because those 2 haven't returned. Reluctantly, Rimmer announces they're proceeding with the graduation, which will be led by the patriarch and all the family elders. Before the ceremony starts, they begin the final roll call. Rimmer announces there are 43 students in total, with 41 present and 2 missing. The trainees murmur among themselves, realizing the ceremony might actually start without Rayon. Rimmer finishes the roll call and announces the start of the ceremony. The gates are about to close, but for some reason, they stop, leaving the trainees wondering what's up. Fortunately, Rayon and Dorian finally burst into the hall, and Rimmer sighs in relief. Our hero announces his arrival, and his friends rush to greet him. He apologizes for being late, while his friends say they thought he'd fail. Dorian quietly pipes up that he's there too. Rimmer, glad our protagonist returned safely, tells him to get to his spot. As Rimmer guides our boy to his place, Karun cuts them off. He tells Glenn the other trainees came a month ago and proved their qualifications, while Rayon just showed up. Since his qualification isn't verified, Karun argues that he shouldn't be allowed to graduate right now. However, Glenn states that decision is up to the instructor, based on Rayon's conduct over the past year. Karun insists he's sure Rayon wouldn't make everyone wait just to prove his qualifications. Rimmer, however, declares he can prove them right now. Suddenly, Rimmer and Rayon clash swords, their auras flaring. Everyone is stunned by our protagonist's growth. Like a real-life level up Manhwa hero. Rimmer declares that swordsmen speak with their blades. Their auras mix and shoot into the sky, bursting like fireworks. The crowd is delighted while Karun is shocked by how easily Rayon blocks Rimmer's attack. He's left wondering what could have happened to our hero this past year. Rayon tells Karun this ought to be enough proof. Unable to do anything, Karun slumps back, clicking his tongue. Next, Rimmer asks Glenn if they should start the ceremony. Glenn points out the wrecked training ground and says he'll ask Rayon some questions after the ceremony, but gives Rimmer the go-ahead. Rimmer sends head trainee Rayon to the front and begins the final roll call. 43 trainees total, all present, with no absentees. With that, the graduation ceremony of the 5th Training Hall's trainees officially begins.